By age 50, most women have reached menopause, a stage of life marked by changes in the body caused by hormonal shifts. But it doesn't happen overnight. There is a transitional period called perimenopause that begins for most women between the ages of 40 and 44 and can last for months or even years. Dr. Martha Walsh, Senior Medical Director of Blue Cross Blue Shield Michigan, is here now with more on this. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Michelle.
What are some of the common signs of perimenopause, and how early could women actually see it?
Yeah, it typically starts around age 45, but can be earlier, and it's highly variable in different women. The biggest, probably one of the first signs that they have are a change in their menstrual cycles. So, kind of counterintuitive to what you would think, rather than the menstrual cycles first getting further apart, what happens is they usually get closer together, and they usually get heavier before they actually start to space out. So that's probably the most common symptom that women have. However, they can have hot flashes, sometimes some night sweats, sleep disturbances. They can also have some dry skin. Some of the other symptoms of menopause, like vaginal dryness and things like that as well. So also women complain about having, emotional disturbances of like mood swings and just not feeling quite like themselves.
And like we said, this can happen for months or even years in some women.
Yeah, most commonly it lasts between about 5 and 10 years. And perimenopause is really that time where you have fluctuations in your hormones as your body gets ready to go through menopause. So menopause is really when you stop ovulating and can no longer become pregnant. But, there's a lot of fluctuations in your hormones that happen prior to that ultimate change happening.
Yeah, and this can be difficult. It can really be uncomfortable for a lot of women who are having trouble. What are some things that women can do to sort of manage some of these different symptoms?
Yeah, I think the first recommendation that I'd have is really to talk to your doctor about the symptoms that you're having, because there are some symptoms that you'd need to seek medical attention for. Like if you're having very heavy bleeding, that needs to have an evaluation for anemia and other issues that can happen from that as well. So I think the first thing is just to talk to your doctor. There's a lot of other things that can be done, and again, in accordance with what your doctor's recommendations are, but some women would benefit from some type of hormone therapy. There's other things that can be done to help with that. Sometimes depending on the symptoms that you're having, if it's vaginal dryness, sometimes there's some, vaginal moisturizers that can be used. Or if they're mood swing type symptoms, then sometimes they can prescribe some antidepressants or medications for anxiety or things like that that can help with mood stabilization. There's also a lot of lifestyle changes that you can make. So if it's really hot flashes that you're having, making sure that you're dressing in layers. If it's sleep disturbance, making sure that you're, sleeping with layers on that you can take off, sleeping with a fan. I know my husband frequently is really cold at night because I keep the room very cold, or I have a fan on during that time. Exercise can also be helpful. So from the perspective that it can help with sleeping, it can help with some of the weight gain that happens during menopause, but can also help with some of the mood disturbances that happen as well.
So there really are a lot of solutions, because it seems like it used to be not really talked about and kind of dismissed, but that's really changed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm really happy that there is more awareness about how debilitating really some of the symptoms of menopause can be for women, because I agree with you, Michelle. I think in the past they've just said, kind of deal with it. And I think now we're really thinking about what are the impacts to women, because you think about that, it's happening at age 45 to around age 55 or so for most women. That's kind of the prime of their working time life. And if they're not getting good sleep at night, or they're really disturbed by, mood changes, or even some of those hot flashes can really be bothersome to a lot of women. And so it's really important that we talk about the things that women can do about these symptoms and not just kind of brush it under the rug anymore.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Dr. Walsh, great advice. Nice to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.